Well, good evening, everybody, and happy Friday. Welcome to the Just Jump In live stream. Happy to have you in here. If you're here, say hello. John from Schuylkill River Valley, good evening. How are you doing? Nice to have you in here. If you're out there, just give a holler and say hi. And whether you're working on something in the background or anything, just to make sure we know you're here and welcome you in. Hope everybody's week is going well. It's quite busy for me. I'm in the height of the busy season, and good evening, Gopher girl. Welcome in. Yes, John, I'm doing okay. I had a nasty kind of flu bug a little while back, and I have a lingering cough. But other than that, I'm doing pretty darn well. Hi, Mom. Welcome. Don't freak out. I still have the little bit of a nagging cough. I checked out the interweb, and the interweb says, it can last up to 2 months. And if at 2 months, then go see a doctor if you're still coughing up a lung. And I'm not quite coughing up a lung, but if it lingers much longer, I'll probably end up going to the doctor. But otherwise, doing well, just busy and tired. So tonight, we'll be talking about the cars that I'm working on and where we are with those. We'll be talking about continue to talk about the Achievement Program, which is all behind this with the NMRA. We had a little contest last week, and so this week we have some results to share. And then we've got show and tell. And if anyone was actually looking at the thumbnail, it's all about side projects. So it'll tell you kind of where I'm at. But once again, if you're out there, please say hi in the chat and want to know that you're here and enjoying the live stream, hopefully. So again, pretty busy week with work. Got out to our NMRA Twin Cities Division monthly meeting last night. And that was a good time. It was all about flat cars or flat car loads. And I did share my progress on the flat car I'm working on. So I kind of bucked the rules for that one a little bit. Show you a project that I worked on that I didn't quite finish. I was hoping to finish, but again, life happens and didn't get there. So let's talk about the flat car here. Not much progress, and I'll tell you why. And I think I mentioned it last week. The website that holds all of the Lone Star Region's clinics is called the Internet Archive. Had a specific type of hacker attack on it, where they basically flood the websites with internet traffic, fake internet traffic, and it overloads the website, slows it down, bogs it down, and causes all kinds of problems. So they're working on it as best they can to get it back up and running. And I kind of know what's left, but I still would love to have the reference. But let's just show you a little bit of what it says on the Internet Archive. So as you can see here, it talks about the service availability, and this was a direct link for the Flat Car Clinic Part 4. And so it's not quite there. with that. So this Internet Archive holds tons and tons of stuff, and so wherever this part of the service is on their radar, they're not quite there yet. I there are things that I certainly can do. I just need to get the um, just need to get the energy to do it, I guess. Hey, Brad from Willow Creek, continuing to follow your progress, and it's really nice progress you got there. Looking at the ballasting that you're doing and everything, so really cool stuff there. So if anybody in the chat hasn't checked out Willow Creek Industrial Spur, his channel, jump out after our chat, and go check them out. So I really could start working on I could paint it and then start working on the trucks and getting the trucks in and everything, and getting the couplers in and any other details. I'm pretty much there. Not sure if you can see it here, but I've got to either pull those off, which is probably what I'll do, and put new stake pockets on. If anybody knows where there's a picture of one that I can model with broken stake pockets, that might be neat to do. But if not, I'll probably have to pull those off and redo the stake pockets there. Otherwise, all the other stake pockets survived. I'm kind of shocked at that. And as I mentioned last time, following their steps in the clinic, I probably should have bucked their steps a little bit, and on several occasions. So one of them that you should do if you're going to try this is see if you can place where you need to drill holes in the frame, the cross beams in the frame, because it's a lot harder to do it when it's already in here. It's quite a bit harder to do when it's in there, and most of your holes are going downward because you can't get the drill in there, so you have to get creative and that sort of thing. But we are where we're at, and there are things I could do to get this moving. I'm somebody who gets sidetracked a bit. When I see something really neat, I want to try it, or something new, I want to try it. So I get sidetracked on that. And so that's essentially where we're at. Again, because I'm working lots of hours right now, and through November, I'll be pretty busy. December, it'll lighten up. I also have a week off around Christmas. So hoping to get some modeling done then, and getting further. This should be done a lot sooner than May of 2025. But in May of 2025, the Twin Cities division puts on there's modelers retreat. And if you've ever heard of a RPM or a railroad prototype meet, that's kind of what it is. It's a little less commercial the way the Twin Cities division does it. It's strictly clinics and a showroom where everybody congregates and shows their models. It's a, let me tell you, no matter how good of a or how bad of a model you are or something, people really care about the modeling, and they're really complimentary of the effort that you do. And if they have something that they want to share to help you out, they're very willing to do it. It's a really, really community event that I really like. So I'll certainly promote that as we get closer in May. But if you're in the Twin Cities during that time, it's an absolute must to go see and participate in. And Brad, thank you very much. Appreciate that. So when I did this, when I stained the wood originally, I only had a couple of stains, and I've made my own before, but I only had a couple of stains. So the other one I had from Hunter Line, it was a little too red, I think. And so I went with creosote black, and creosote black is for like railroad ties. It's really dark. And so when this came out, it was came out super dark. So what I did to try to combat that, and I think we talked about it a little bit, is I went over it with a dry brushing technique with, I think, burnt umber. So that right there from Craft Smart. And then from Vallejo, I have this rotten white. So it's a little bit grungier than a straight white color. And so I just dry brushed them in layers. And you can see the variation on there. And that's it. And it came out really nice, better than I expected it to. And when I was gluing these together, based on what I was doing, I would have a cluster of ones where I did it really lightly. Like any of these darker ones had maybe less layers of the white and the burnt umber. And then, I would have clusters where I did more, like that one and those two. And so when I was putting this on, I purposely mixed them up to get a good contrast and make them pop. And yeah, I don't think I could repeat it again. Maybe I could, but I was pleasantly surprised with the results, and it looks really kind of used and abused quite a bit. And that 3 feet rule, it's going to look really good when it's 3 feet away from you. So anyway, so yeah, so that's where I am with that. And then and so one of the things that we want to do as a division and promote the achievement program is to have some of our master model railroaders and our AP representative actually do some evaluations there, kind of to show people how it's done and promote it, and to get it done for people in the division that are coming out there. So I want to have this done, and I should have this done by May to be evaluated. There are different categories. They're scored, they're weighted on a 125 point scale, and you need 87.5 points to merit. And so there is some requirement for merits with cars. You don't have to, all your cars don't have to merit, but there are there is definitely a requirement. I think it's 4 of 8 cars have to merit. So they all have to be super detailed or scratch built. At least 4 of the 8 cars must be scratch built. The other 4 can be super detailed. And you must earn a score of 87.5 points on 4 of the 8 models. So I think the area that I will suffer from most is the construction piece. There are specific things they look for, like can you see glue spots and things? And on the underside of the car, you certainly can. And I think it'll be hard. You won't be able to, I was telling you, you can't really, you can see it a little bit because can't get it to focus with this camera, but let's see here if I can do this. Look at that. If I angle it, you can see there's a bubble of glue right there. That I'll have to sand off because that didn't need to be there. That was kind of an error. I don't know if you can see the glossiness of it. And I probably shouldn't be giving this all away, but the guys who work on this definitely will be able to find this. Under here, there's a glob of glue. So construction will take a hit, but there are different categories. Scratch built is going to be, it's not a lot of points you get for that, but I think it's 15 points, but I'll get all 15 points for that. Sorry for the craziness with the camera. It's on an arm here. So see if we can focus on that. So that's coming up. And so the cab car that I've been working on, I don't have a real good update with that one either. That's a financial piece. I've got to obtain some parts for that. Or I want to. I mean, I could put it together now, but it would do better if it had lighting. Yeah, if it had lighting, and I have almost all the lights in there. So what I'm kind of leaning towards is an expensive for me. Everybody's different, but for me it's kind of expensive. But there's a decoder from ESU, the Locksound 5. It's the newer one, but it's a it's called Locksound 5 FX, and it just doesn't have the motor control, and so it's a little bit cheaper. I think their MSRP is like around $90, but I've seen it for around $67, $68 out there. And I may have to still pick up a decoder buddy from Nick's Trains to help make sure that I can get all of the lighting functions wired in, because you're going to have the marker lights on both ends. You're going to have the headlights. You're going to have the ditch lights that I'm working on. That's still a work in progress. I haven't gotten any further on that one yet. So still more to do on that. Again, targeting May for that, so that one could be evaluated as well. And I'm sorry, this is like really bothering me because to me it looks blurry. So maybe with it a little closer. So that's where I am with the cab car. Haven't made much progress on that. But once I get those done, or I could be working on it simultaneously, but I don't feel like I have the time. I feel like I got to relax. I've got Gopher girl around. I've got my 2 dogs, want to spend some time with them. So I focus on the modeling when I can, but there's a paperwork part of the achievement program. I could fill that out at any time, and I certainly could do that. So I think it's a little bit of an excuse that I haven't. But I'll need to do paperwork for both cars. So that'll be next up for me to get these done and ready for the modelers meet. The paperwork basically describes to the evaluator what you used, how you did everything you did, any background that they need to know about the car, because not everybody's going to know about a 56-foot flat car with a uh, um, uh, wood surface, and if I make if I decal this or make this with a fictitious road name, they're not going to necessarily know about that sort of thing. So the paperwork helps them understand the car, the build, the history of it, everything they need to know. And then the rest of it is the modeling technique and everything. So I'm curious where some of the folks were that were here last week. Um, we had a contest last week. Basically, Gopher Girl was considering me this old guy who can't stay awake. And we are Gopher hockey, University of Minnesota Gopher hockey fans. We have season tickets. We watch them together. It's kind of our date night thing. After the show, we'll certainly be doing that as well. But last week, there was a game. It was actually on later because it was out in Las Vegas, so it was more convenient. But she challenged folks to guess when I would fall asleep during the game, and as part of the challenge, she actually offered a prize, and the prize is going to come from uh, Interaction Hobbies. Let me go ahead and show you their website. So Interaction Hobbies became one of my favorite modeler. Let's do this instead. Let's get rid of my screen. One of my favorite things to model, because you could buy really small stuff. So with Craftsman wood kits, you can get really expensive. And what they do all kinds of things, from vehicles to accessories to buildings, and they as you can see here, there are multiple scales, and they they do details. They do some 3D printing as part of it as well for some of their details. They have some hobby tools on their website. They're not super outstanding to me or any different than you can find anywhere else, but they're probably trying to build up some of the tools that they use. And just to show you some of the stuff, I'll go into some of the detail stuff that they're going to use, that they're going to end up with. Probably some of this would be 3D printing. Let's show one of the most fun ones that they have here. This is a meth lab that they were inspired by Breaking Bad. And I believe somewhere on here they have the figures as well. And I may be wrong about that, but if this would cooperate with me. Things like that. And you've seen me build stuff before on here. I have some videos out that I did. I have featured some of the builds I've done. For Gopher Girl, I did this. You can see their trucks are just about the same. And let's see here. Let's see. I did the taco truck. And I have a video on that. Um, and I really enjoyed this build. Walters just recently with their cheaper brand, they put out plastic vehicles that look just like this. So I don't know when it comes to the tooling, um, whose tooling it is. They look almost the same, but these kits are all wood. This whole thing is wood, except for I believe the details on top were plastic or 3D printed. I think some like the steering wheel inside and some of that. And these accessories were 3D printed, but everything else is wood and it's in layers. The tires are wood, the whole wheel set is wood, everything is. Uh, so I really enjoy these. So we're going to acquire something from Interaction Hobbies for the giveaway. And hey Daryl, how are you doing? Welcome to the chat. Nice to have you in here. Love having you come in and check in with us, and appreciate you being here. So going back to the contest winner, essentially there was none. So Gopher Girl asked people in the chat to pick out um, who what period of the hockey game I would fall asleep in, and I can happily say that I stayed awake for the whole game, which is rare. She is not wrong. I do fall asleep during hockey games when we watch them late at night. But I beat everybody out, and so we decided, well, that nobody really won, but we didn't want to come away as the bad guys for um, throwing that out there, and so we decided the people that guessed would have a chance to win, and we were going to spin the wheel. And so I'm going to share with you um, who those folks are. And so we had a very heavy showing from our Twin Cities division. So we have Ken Z. We have Randy, also from the Twin Cities division, and we have Split Rock Tom from the Twin Cities division. Hey, Dwight, welcome to the live stream. Happy to have you here. And we also have Happy Valley Hobbies Ed. Made it to the live stream last week, and he guessed the third period. Split Rock thought he said before the drop of the puck, which I think was a little obnoxious, but he then settled on the first period, and then we had Ken and Randy, and I don't recall. I don't recall what their guesses were, but all four had guessed. So tonight I thought it appropriate that we do the spin the wheel like most of our live streams do, to pick a winner, and then we'll contact them and set up set it up so we can get them something from Interaction Hobbies. And Dwight, are you going to be on this weekend? Are you going to have your live stream? All right. So I haven't seen any of these guys in here. Maybe they take a night off every once in a while from me, and three of them saw me yesterday, so they're probably sick of me already. But we will go ahead and get this done, and then go for it from there. And so I'm going to shuffle this up. With only 4, it doesn't look like a big shuffle, but we're going to go ahead and run it. We're going to see what happens here. Who's it going to be? It is going to be, it stays on green. Ken Zeska is the winner. Congratulations, Ken. We'll certainly be in touch. I'll see you this weekend for sure. I'll see you tomorrow. And we will work out a deal to get you something from we'll work out a deal to get you something from Interaction Hobbies, and then we'll want to see it up on your layout at some point as well. All right, so Gopher Girl's going to have to go shopping, and then we'll maybe do this again sometime, and maybe have some other fantastic prizes that we can do from some of the other vendors that we certainly love. So again, congratulations, Ken. With that being said, so one of my favorite things about of your live streams is I love it. Like, you'll walk across your room and you'll be screaming from across the room, and we can always hear you. I don't think you have to scream. Your stuff's pretty good at your place, but really enjoy it too. So looking forward to it. All right, so we're gonna move to our show and tell tonight, which was all about side projects. So I will be back with you shortly. All right. So we are back. And why in the world do I have this stuff here? Okay, why do I have a Rubbermaid cabinet here, or satellite? So I have wanted to, where I have my modules, I had this big flat box where I was putting the rolling stock I have. I have too much rolling stock and too many engines. I have a whole 3 engines, but too many engines to be out on this 2x8 layout. So it's two 2x4 modules. And so it kind of worked, but it was kind of a pain to get under there and move stuff around to I do this at least once a night, lose my words. But it's just a pain to get under there and get into the box that I have all the rolling stock in, and it's getting full. And Rubbermaid satellite stuff is getting harder to find. Places like Target, even Walmart, I don't think carries much of that anymore. Target's replaced it with some clear plastic brand. And they were always pretty expensive for plastic, I would say. You know, I always thought, well, if I'm going to spend that much on, this is the old crotchety me, but if I was going to spend that much on plastic, then why not get something more solid? And that always have that fight. But I was out and about last weekend, and we have a Goodwill right near us. And if you're comfortable with used stuff, there's tons of stuff you can find at Goodwill. There's lots of times you can even find train stuff, depending on where you are. Out in New Jersey, where my mother goes to Goodwill, there's always one or two things that are model railroad related. I didn't find much of that at mine, but mine's a pretty packed store, and I always look at the furniture, always. Um, and all of a sudden, there were actually two of these four drawer um, uh, cabinets, and and I just couldn't resist. And they used to be like 25 or $30 or more. And this was half of that price. I think it was, or I, um, it might have been 9.99, I think. And there were two of them there, and I didn't really need two of them yet. I mean, if I get more rolling stock and more locomotives, I sure could use another one of them. But this was good. I could fit it under my layout. Then you can see on the picture on the right, I'm lining it with some foam. And this foam, when I was at work one day, year before the showstopper, yes, Daryl, I am starting the journey to Master Model Railroader. My goal or my hope is to get in there, maybe be number 1,000. I don't know. But so the cab car, if you were on some of my earlier streams or you look at some of my videos and stuff, I grew up out east on the northeast quarter. And so I want to build the northeast quarter in New Jersey with New Jersey Transit and Amtrak. And so I'm starting off with a cab car. That's the first car I started with. And hoping in May to have it evaluated to see if I can get a merit award for it. So thank you, Daryl. And it's just the start. We'll see how it goes. But that's part of why I started this live stream. A little bit selfish. It keeps me thinking about and working on this stuff. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I hope to continue to be able to show you all the progress that I'm doing, and that's again what was kind of the push for me to go live with all these other live streams and everything. And so yeah. So back before the pandemic, in the office, we have a lot of seasonal work, and everybody gets to use the computer and they get their equipment. And they were opening these boxes and boxes and boxes of computer mice. And I'm sitting there looking at them, like, I don't need those boxes, even though they're um, uh, they probably are good to store stuff. They're flat and everything. But then I see inside they have this foam, and I never bought a foam cradle or anything. And what I was really thinking about these foam pieces was, as I was doing videos and doing audio for the videos, uh, um, we thank you, Brad. I appreciate that. And we are all masters of our models, and I have that complex where I'm certainly don't feel like I'm a master of a model. But I get you, Daryl. Um, so so I see these foam, and I'm like, well, when I'm doing audio, I'm just sitting in a room that doesn't have any acoustics. It doesn't have any, anything around it. So I thought, oh, this would be a good idea. I'll build the box around where I put the mic, and I'll put this foam on there and sit there and do it. Well, I never did that. I've been learning to use Audacity, which is a free audio mixing program, and I use that for my videos. So I didn't really need them. So they sat, and I was like, oh, this is the perfect idea. So I lined all the drawers, with this, and they're deep enough for engines and cars and boxes if there are boxes. So here you can see me throwing the cars in there and my hodgepodge of cars. Um, I have um, I have these two drawers are full. The bottom drawer has room. The top drawer has boxes with for the engines and so so that's one of the pieces that I got. The other one is this. This is a Rubbermaid piece that I've been eyeing for years. It's really convenient. The only thing with the Rubbermaid stuff is it in the middle. If there's weight in the middle, it pushes down and doesn't close the drawers all the way. But the drawers slide fine as plastic, even when they're heavy and have heavy stuff in them. But I really wanted this for convenience on my work table, and this was also half price of what it would be. It's like $13 or $14 when it was in the stores. This was $6.99, and so I couldn't pass these deals up. And there was even a bonus. There were two old lady hard candies in this Rubbermaid drawer, um, but uh, I accidentally dropped them and I didn't pick them up. But I washed them down. I rinsed them down with some soapy water and everything, just to because they were a little dirty, but not really. They're going to be used. Not really worried about that, and they're both in really good condition. And I already love it. It feels more organized. The box that you see on top was holding everything that you see in the three drawers. So, um, so if you can imagine having to go through there, and if you can look in the middle drawer with that little green bin, that's all X-Acto blades and everything and knives. So you can imagine how dangerous it was for me to go find stuff, and stuff would get buried and everything. Um, but I did keep the box for some of the other tools that I have. Um, but I also have really enjoyed having all of my um, tweezers that I have. And I think I probably have too many tweezers, but um, I like having them up there. There are two T pins, track pins that are there to kind of open the airway of glue bottles as they dry, and I just stick them right into the cardboard there. And so I really like my setup now. Um, the paints and stuff are off to the side. I have to get used to that. I have a whole box of glues. I've got to get pictures. I didn't get pictures in time for it. But I have a whole box set up for the styrene, because when I went to build the flat car, there's a ton of different styrene that you need for the build, but you get these packages of this stuff and you have leftovers. So a little bit of hot glue in a couple boxes, and I have it all organized with all the parts I need. And I talk all the time. My paints are all in these photo box holders. I don't know what you call them. Um, and and so those are now off to the side. They were in the corner where you see these pictures. That's the corner of my work desk. Um, and now those have been moved off, and I'm happy now. And it was a real good find. And so don't be if you don't frequent shops like Goodwill and other thrift stores, um, what you go in to look for, you go in to look for those gems, the ones that can really help you out. I almost bought this like gigantic activity pack, and not everything would work for scale and in model railroading or anything, but it had a few things, some string and or some thread and things like that. But it was a little too expensive for just those few things I need. I could get them cheaper at the dollar store, just for those things. So um, thank you, Brad. It's well organized. Not every modeler likes their desk organized. I just like it to get to my tools easier than I've made it. And so now this makes it a bit easier. So now talking about side projects, what the heck? Um, so Daryl, I do get to the crap everywhere bit. And then I get stressed out, and so I have to do some spring cleaning and go back to it. Like I said, this one is just it's just about tool organization, getting to the tools easier. I still had to clean off my desk full of styrene shavings and all kinds of other plastics and crap and that's there as well. So um but one of the other side projects again for the meeting um last night with the Twin Cities division. So yeah, Dwight, the stores, you know, depending on where you are, it's just how populated it is. Even where I live, it's not as populated where my mother lives, and her Goodwill has a different shelf setup. It's actually a smaller, older building, so a smaller storefront. Um, and so it's a little tighter than the one I'm at, but the one I'm at's really busy. So yeah, it gets busy. People love their clothing that they get there right now. They have Halloween stuff that everybody's going for. Um, so anyway, it's just worth looking for the finds and if there's tools or things that you can use in the hobby, I think it's a good place to go, and it's not that expensive for me anyway. I'm always careful when I say that. Um, so what the heck is this? Who's a Walgreens fan here? Um, I I take I don't know 6 or 7 pills a day. So I have a lot of medicine bottles left around. Um, and what our goal was for the Twin Cities division meeting last night was to highlight um, flat car loads. And one of the things I really wanted to try, um, one of the things I really wanted to try, I've always wanted to try, is doing tarps, scale model tarps. And again, being busy and everything, I didn't get this done. But I took some. These are. I'm not an O scale modeler, but I now have something O scale, and so I may have to dip a little deeper into O scale. Um, but I just couldn't fit these on HO scale. And I didn't have a flat car for it, so I just cut out the styrene, the width of a flat car in O scale, and put these on these bottle caps. So I you can see I glued two of the bottle caps together one way. I glued two of the bottle caps on the other end a different way, and then I had two of different size in the middle, all for the purpose of doing a tarp. And I didn't get done with it. I got to the painting stage, as we'll see here, and I painted it a black as a base, and then the green color I want to use was too dark, and so it didn't come out. It looks black, really, with green highlights. So I still have to work on that a little bit. Um, but hey, Zoe, welcome to the chat. Nice to have you in here. And so how did I go about doing this? Well, I obviously made a mess, but you can use people use paper towels, people use tissues, people use gauze. If you're doing like military modelers, some of them use like a gauzy type of fabric because it's I forget what kind of material that is, but it's a thicker, tougher material. People use tissues, people use toilet paper. I wanted to use what I had in the house. Well, I have toilet paper for sure. Um, Gopher Girl always makes sure we're stocked with the toilet paper, and I always make sure we're stocked with leftover pill bottles. And um, so, what you the way I have found to be taught, and everybody has probably their own way to do it, um, but is doing multiple layers of toilet paper, and the toilet paper I had was 2-ply, and the way to get it to adhere and to solidify is to use white glue and water. And so I did a white glue and water mix that was approximately 50-50. Uh, and then you have to let it dry, obviously, and then do your design and painting. And um, I used a brush to kind of push it in and shape it a bit. And you can see, so here's a ply on there, and it's still, you can still see through it. You can see the Walgreens stuff through it. Here I am with multiple layers on now. And you can see it still forming. You know what's underneath because I showed you what's underneath. But the hope is it looks like a real load that it has to go somewhere that there's either different types or different sizes or just different amounts of whatever, and it has to be delivered. And so that's where we want to get to with it. And so this is multiple layers. And I said I did 3 layers and lots of white glue and water. And then we got to this. So this is as far as I got. And again, this is it's too dark as a black, and you don't really see it in black, I guess. So it doesn't feel real to me. Like I've seen blue tarps, red tarps, the green tarps is the one I've seen most. So I wanted to use what I had in green as a dark green. I have this campground green. It didn't come through. So what I thought I might try is doing, doing white highlights, and I'd use an airbrush and do white highlights, and maybe use a brush around some of the areas that the airbrush won't get into, but just to highlight it, to lighten it up and see how that does, and then maybe add some more green, and we'll see where it goes. I might have a ton of paint on it and it might look like mush. It might turn gray or brown. I don't know, but we'll see. The other thing that I want to do is cut the styrene off around the edges, because it's now solid, so I can do that, and then put that on a flat car. And so, like I probably go to a Menards where I can get a $25 O-scale flat car, which is cheap in the O-scale world, in my opinion. So let's see here. Let's take that off. So let's see. I don't know how the light is, but here, this is all it is. It's that's it. I think this is 060 styrene, but I need a base because obviously these were hollow. I didn't put any weight on this. So when you talk, at least in the NMRA, they talk about, for good operation, having certain car weights. So one of the things you could do if you're building something like this, and especially if you have something like bottle caps, have room, you can fill that with whatever you want to weigh it down. And that'll add weight to your car. But if I can cut out all of this along where the tarp is, and once I'm done with the painting process and repainting process, and then I can get it on a flat car, and you have a flat car load. So that was the other thing. This could have been finished in a week easily, or a few days. But I ran out of time to be, accurate with the paint. Yep. So one of the questions, so when I'm building this car, I can't show you this, but this thing with styrene is so light, it's not gonna bode well on tracks, So it's definitely there's just no room in here um, for um, for weights. I mean, you might be able to get away with a little bit thicker beams, and then maybe like a long piece of metal weight, and then the wood planks over top. But there was no direction to do that. These metal details have no weight to them either. Um, so there's nothing to it. And it just won't, your cars are going to derail if it's part of your train. So the way to do it is by whatever your load is. Hey, Split Rock, nice to see you in here. So that's okay. I love the podcasts, and so you're forgiven. So an update for you, because you were the one of the ones that guessed last week. We had no winners for the guess if when Dan's going to fall asleep contest. And so what we did is we did we took all of the entries and put them into our contest, and we did the spin the wheel thing. And unfortunately for you, Split Rock, it landed on Ken. So we'll get in touch with Ken, talk to him about getting him something in his scale from Interaction Hobbies. So is the podcast you're editing, is that out tonight? Yeah, can you give us a scoop on what it's about? Yeah, Ken wins everything. So he certainly he's good at manipulating things, that's for sure. So yeah. But that was the side projects I did. And now that Split Rock's here, it reminds me to talk about the event that's happening this weekend called our Skills Day, and put on by the Twin Cities division. So let's pull that up too. I'm just all about sharing stuff tonight. So this is from the the Twin Cities Division website. So happening tomorrow from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. in St. Paul, Minnesota. We're doing a skills day, and what's really fun about these skills days is these aren't straight clinics. It's not somebody up in front of you talking. It's everybody sharing. So the last skills day I went to, I actually brought a toolbox with all my tools, and I was sitting, and we were there was a weathering clinic or a weathering skill that time, and the person who was moderating that piece of it was focusing on the taco sauce and it was the panel liner from Tamiya. And so I happen to like using it, and I've been using it. So I brought 2 bottles with me, and I shared with people, and I shared how I did stuff, and and how and they shared how they did stuff. And there was a bunch of modelers there that hadn't used it, and so it wasn't somebody talking at us. We helped them with all of our techniques, and they got a chance to try it. And I tried oil paints there, which I hate because they take forever to dry, and I don't have those patience. Yep. Brad, you can definitely, the wheel sets on definitely will add some weight. and on that, and I use metal wheels too. So definitely we'll have some weight added to that, and then we'll just figure out what's left, and we'll put it in whatever we put on there. All right, Daryl, it was nice to have you in here again, checking in, and I don't really want to know what duty calls, but have a good night, and we'll see you next time. So, um, the skills that we're gonna, and the space we have is an industrial space that's donated by one of our division members, and technically by his brother. Um, and and so it's this big open space, and so we have like 3 tables set up, bunch of chairs around the tables. um One time one of the members brought in one of their modules and said, while you're doing your skill stuff, come over and run on the module, and so people could switch on the module and stuff. um so this is all about activity and all about sharing techniques, um, and so it's definitely something to learn. There's going to be some information on track ballasting, weathering track, and then freight car tuning. And we all have our own ways. All right, Zoe, it's been fun having you in here, and um, stop by anytime, and appreciate you sharing the stuff in your videos. Lots of good rail fanning videos that Zoe has, so check out her channel when you get a chance as well, maybe after the show tonight. Lots of good shots. She does some good shots of the passenger stuff as well, and so I like to see it because she's out in New Jersey, so I get to see some of the stuff I like to model. So make sure you check out her channel as well. So when it comes to tuning freight cars, everybody has their own way of making sure the wheels go. Like I said, I always use metal wheels. I kind of learned that with N scale, because half the time I would get a car and it would derail, and I'm looking at all the things, everything looks fine, and then I realized they're plastic wheels where that still have flashing on them and things like that, and they're very light and all that. So and how if you're having issues with the wheels rolling, there are ways to within the trucks to make that better. Everybody changes out couplers to their favorite couplers, and we can share how you do those sorts of things. And so it's one of my favorite things. The only thing that I have trouble with is, what do I bring as far as tools? I could bring my whole workbench to this event and use all of my tools there. So it's deciding which ones to take. So that's a good tip, Split Rock, to have metal wheels and metal axles. I was just got a tip from our Fremo friends on lighting the interior of a passenger car, and using the track power to do that. And they said to put metal tube on the axle that's really tight to the axle but doesn't completely stop it from moving, and you wire to that piece over the axle, and you get a current keeper, and that'll light your passenger car. So I thought that was really neat. So that reminded me of that from your advice there. So this is a really fun 3 hours. It goes by really fast, unfortunately, because I could see it, and I come away from it jazzed, and I want to do model railroading. And I forget what I was doing. I had something else to do, maybe a hockey game, maybe a Gopher hockey game the last time, and I was kind of bummed because I came home and it was like a letdown. Like I was having so much fun. So if you're a NMRA member, it's $5 to cover just costs and materials. It's $10 if you're a non-member. Um, but um, it's well worth it. And so if you are in the Twin Cities, I know I have folks from around the world, and you're not always um, you're not always able to get to some of the events, and but I still want to promote it because it's one of my favorite events. And so I'll probably have trouble sleeping tonight, um, thinking about it and dreaming about what the heck am I going to bring. I had a small toolbox. I don't think I have it up here with me, that I brought, and I packed it full, and I used maybe half of the things that were in there or less. And so that's like, so I want to dump out my regular toolbox, which is really big, and pack that full of stuff. I have no idea what I'm going to do. So I'll have to think through that one tonight and tomorrow. But it's really worth it if you are not a member of the NMRA. Go to the website. The website has most of their information is in front of the member wall, and you can find the division that's local to you. And they welcome everybody to their meetings for a few meetings, and of course they want you to join. But they're very welcoming, and you can learn so much. And I'm kind of a lone modeler, but I still like helping other people when um, so like for instance, one of the members last night hasn't done anything with the achievement program, but he's gotten started in the hobby. He's been doing the hobby for a while, and he had some roadblocks that he had questioned. And so it gave me a chance to sit and talk with him and tell him what I like about the achievement program and how I've become a better, not a great modeler, but a better modeler already. And and I said, I will help him any way I can so that he's successful with it too. And so he's definitely considering it. And I told him to take a look at what he's already modeled. Just because you don't have to be a beginner to join the NMRA. If you're an expert, we'd love to have you part of the team, I guess you would say. So Zoe, what's my favorite engine? My favorite engine is probably the P42, from Amtrak, because that's probably the one I know the most from a freight standpoint, just because I've seen so many of them from the modeling world. And is an SD42, I believe, as well. Is it the I had one in N scale, so I like that one. I can tell you which ones I don't like more than I can tell you which ones I like. Um, and I like the ones I grew up with, obviously, as well. So for those of you not aware of the links and who the links are and what they're forcing, that's the WNBA, and Minnesota has had a team that's been very good for a lot of years, and they're taking on New York, who's also a team that was very good and wasn't so good. Now it's good again, and so it's pretty exciting finals, and I'm probably going to ruin it by saying it, but we might actually have a championship team in Minnesota for once. But Yep, GP40, GP38. Those are some workhorses. I like those as well. I can tell you, I don't like GG1s. I don't like really any engine that, for whatever reason, has a cab mid car. So, see now, Split Rock. This is where it gets me in the hobby and gets me with when I'm with all of my engineer friends. I don't know. What is a U33C? Um, that's where my inexperience is definitely is what is a U33C? Or are you just messing with me and there's no actual U33C? Okay, so there is a U33C. It looks like it's a 6-axle diesel locomotive from GE. And I suppose it's close. Isn't Penn Central kind of close to see, I don't know my history on that as well, as much. Um, that's not bad looking. I'm looking at um from Wikipedia. Uh, where are you? This is from Wikipedia. Um, that's your U33C. Yeah, Gopher Girl. They won 4 titles, but wasn't that a while back? So, so yeah, that's um, yeah, that's and I've talked about this a few times where, I come from, I love trains growing up because I love the idea that you could go places. My parents were um, very good to me because they taught me well and then trusted me. So I got to go to New York to visit friends when I was younger on trains by myself and uh, so yeah, I'll tell you, Split Rock, one of my um here's the tearjerker story. Um my wife, Gopher Girl, my wife and I used to travel by train all the time back out east to visit my family. And with Amtrak, there are always delays, maybe an hour here, a half hour here, 15 minutes here, maybe the rare 2 hours. But we used to go from Minneapolis to Chicago, switch in Chicago, and go out east. Um, but my dad was sick with cancer, and he was actually in hospice care. And I was trying to figure out a time to go visit, and he actually was getting worse and worse in hospice care. And so, of course, there was more urgency to go out and visit him. And um, so there we are at and I think it was still the station, it was back then, it was still the Midway station between Minneapolis and St. Paul. Um, and the train is like, we get there and they're like, the train's an hour late. Then a little while later, it's 2 hours late. And then hours later, it's 3 hours late. It was, I think, 7 hours late. And apparently, the Amtrak engine on the front end broke down and they didn't have a replacement along the lines that was close. So and I don't remember what company they borrowed from, but they borrowed a freight engine, and freight engines are strong, but they're not as fast as passenger engines. So this thing comes putting in from out in Montana where they got the freight engine or wherever, somewhere out there. And Um, and so they were able to switch it in Minneapolis because that's where they do a lot of switching of the engines. So then we had to wait for that to happen, and of course there were only ever, you know, one train and one connection. We used to have to spend like 5 or 6 hours in Chicago. Well, 4 to 6 hours in Chicago waiting for our next train. Well, of course, this was late and there were no other trains. So they did put us up in a hotel. But of course, I'm thinking this whole time, I'm not going to see my dad before I die, before he dies. I'm sorry. And it's the only time it's ever happened like that. We've never had a delay like that. So we got out there. I got to see my dad, and then he passed away. I was there when he passed away. Um, and I think one of the only times I cried, and the Gopher girl will tell you. Um, but I got out there in time. But it was the only time I ever cursed at Amtrak, because I've always enjoyed the rides, and I've always enjoyed commuter and long train rides and stuff. So that was my sad story about Amtrak. It was 14 hours late to Whitefish Mountain. Did it actually have Amtrak livery back then in 1972, or was it a hodgepodge of other roads? Yeah, Dwight, it wasn't fun what happened to him, and cancer's kind of a bitch. So, um, but he it had just spread, and it was not, you couldn't save it. So I appreciate that, Dwight. But anyway, so that was my um, that was um, you know that affected me a little bit with Amtrak, but it is what it is. They have to share the rails. None of it's their own, trackage, and they called it the Rainbow Builder. They have some interesting names. Amtrak does. So, um, yeah, there's 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 there are quite a there are a few different liveries that they have now. People like the one that's on the coast in California. That's kind of nice looking stuff that they have out there. um, I've never the only time I've ever ridden in bi-level passenger trains, which they have now all over the place, is actually one time in Chicago, when I was visiting family. Um, we didn't take the car. My Gopher girl was going out to visit a family that she used to take care of, and that was the week that we're in Chicago, and so I went to visit my family there, and took the Metra, and that has older bi-level cars, not like New Jersey Transit and some of the others have, but I'm of the generation before the bi-level cars. Have a good night, Zoe. Nice to have you in here. Appreciate you. So, oh, there the dogs go. Neighbors came home, so the dogs are barking up a storm. Um, when it had MPGN, SPS, CBQ, so it had everything basically. Yeah. Um, so it's kind of interesting how they swallow up the equipment and everything, but you see that all the time where one road is done using some equipment and they sell it off, and another road takes it and uses it. And Conrail's a big one that did that, and then you have local, you have short lines that all do that buy and sell equipment all the time as well. So yeah, so And so the other thing I showed at the um, where is it? The other flat car load I showed is something I made out of other household items, and I'm going to put it in the chat, and I'll also put it up here. That's a link to the video of a flat car load that I did, and I didn't put that one out too long ago. Where did it go? To check out as well. It's with having dogs, we have tons and tons of rolls of poop bags because you take them for a walk, you got to pick up after them. And we have these plastic tubes that are left, and they were really good for a flat car load. And so I have a video at how I built that up, and so check that out when you get a chance as well. That was the other thing I showed. Went to the local hobby shop here, found the car, then I found a prototype picture to kind of go off of to weather the car. I put like wood stakes into the stake pockets, and had some extra kind of scale wood like this that you put between the pipes, and I threw those on, and some cables to hold down the pipes. I put those on in piles just to put that together, and so that was a fun thing to do, a fun project, and so yeah, please check that out. And let me see, it wasn't too long ago when I put it up it was a little while ago. It was in May that I put it up, but it's titled "Turning Garbage into Art," HO scale freight load. And so what I think I'm going to do at this point, because I still have a hockey game to watch with Gopher Girl and actually have our date night, I'm going to go ahead and I think call it at this point. I've been rambling on for about an hour and a half. And I definitely want you to check out that video on the poop bag freight load, and check out some of the other channels we talked about. Check out Split Rock's channel. Check out Brad Willow Creek's channel. Check out Zoe's channel. Check out Dwight's channel. Dwight does a live stream on the weekends. Check his out. Like I said, his are fun. I love when he's yelling across the room and telling us what he's doing. That's a lot of fun. So, and John, Schuylkill River Valley, is another great modeler, and he's got a bunch of videos. He also does a live stream with the bunch of guys who switch off on Sunday nights. So check out John's channel at Schuylkill River Valley. Check out Sidetrack Sunday, and just jump in and just try the hobby. Just try whatever it is you really want to see if it, is right for you. I would just go for it. And I want to say have a great weekend. Hopefully I'll be able to show you some new skills from the skills day, and again, just jump in and have a great weekend.